come to YouTube, and then you can register an account, your personal account. Put your name there, your date of birth, gender, and your Gmail address. Put your Gmail address there, and then confirm your password, enter and confirm, and then continue. Put your phone number there. Once you get the confirmation code, you can use it and then verify. Okay, the account is successfully registered. Now the third step is to subscribe to Grandmaster JinBodhi's YouTube channel. You search in YouTube Grandmaster JinBodhi English. Choose the right channel, and once you're there, you'll see many of Grandmaster JinBodhi's teachings and videos. So click on subscribe and that little bell, which will help you to receive the notifications. The fourth step, how can you see your favorite videos? You click on that triangle on the right side, and then you'll see different time spots. And then you can see the contents where you like the most, your favorite. And if you like it, please click like and leave comments and share with your friends and family. Please teach your friends and family how to register and subscribe to Grandmaster JinBodhi's YouTube channel. That will help a lot of people. Hello, our online friends. Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to teach part 19 of Grandmaster JinBodhi's family precepts. And we're going to talk about respect and reverence, to respect the whole world. Before we talk about the family precepts, let's listen to some sharings from our Korean friends. It's very interesting. Okay, Joyce and Christine. Well, thank you, Master. So first, I will share sharing from Hongping, from Anshan Center. During this pandemic, she and her husband, Mr. Jing, has lost their job for 3 months. They don't have any income among these 3 months, and so they have to use their savings. After 3 months, on their bank statement, they only have like 200,000 Korean dollars, but it's only equal to like 200 US dollars. And so $200 for a family, it's very, limited amount for the whole family. But they don't have any other income. And right at this time, teacher Guoxing of the Anshan Center's meditation center, he doesn't know about their financial difficulty. They just called them to extend some carings, and because they have an opportunity that they can make offerings to Buddha. And so Sister Hongping was thinking, oh my gosh, I only have $200, 200 US dollars. Well, maybe I can still survive this month to buy food. I don't even know next month where would the food come from. And so she told the teacher about this financial difficulty and said that maybe she won't be able to make the offering. And of course, the teacher understood this and comforted her. But at the end, the teacher said, he said, well, Master, Grandmaster used to say, Buddha actually always look at your sincerity, your sincere heart. And after hearing this sister Hongxing suddenly awakened without any hesitation. She took all $200 to donate to the center. What a courageous decision. And right that night, she had a dream. The Buddha with emanating brilliant light come to her house and bring lots of golden beans. And Hongping only picked one gold bean. And the second day, when she woke up, she thought, oh, it's such a beautiful dream. Buddha came to me and bring the golden beans. And even before she reviewed the dream thoroughly, her husband received a phone call. A company notified her husband to go to work. Wow, it's just so amazing. Yesterday, she just made the offering to Buddha and had a wonderful dream. And the next morning, they were notified and they were employed. What a miracle. Only if you experience, you would believe in it. And so the couple, they were so overjoyed. They had a wonderful breakfast. And now after these 3 months, whatever kind of job they would cherish. And so her husband started to work. And then Sister Hongping thought, okay, since my husband has such a good fortune, and he's making, supporting the whole family. And then Sister Hongping also want to have a job because she doesn't want her husband to be too tired. And so she wants to go out and give it a try. Maybe. And when she go out, she always has a feeling of turning right and walk until the end of the road and give it a try. She somehow has this very strange feeling. And so she did turn right and walk to the end of the road. And there was an agent who agency there that introduced work for others. And so she, the owner of the company there, the agency there was actually didn't find anybody there. It's for a long time because of the pandemic. And so she went to talk to the owner that she wanted to find a job. And the owner said, it's been a long time. I haven't seen any company hiring people. And well, this sister, of course, she's prepared, but when refused by the person at the time, she still felt quite uncomfortable. And then the man said, well, you can still leave your phone number here if anyone wants to hire someone. Maybe it's just for politeness that he asked her to leave the phone number. She said, okay, I'll leave the phone number. And so the man said, if anybody wants to hire someone, I'll phone you. And right before she was about to leave that agency, the phone rang. The man picked the phone and said, oh, I just received a phone call. This company want to find an employee. Do you want to go? Do you want to work? And this sister Hongping, even before she left, and she said, oh, of course. She didn't even ask what kind of job is that. She just said, yeah, of course I want it. You see, how amazing is that? She didn't even go out of the agency. The phone already arrived. And there you go. She got the job. She was so happy and very touched. And she cried in the agency, burst into a cry, and because she had so much anxiety before because of no job, and then the owner of the agency was a little frightened. Why are you crying? Is the job not good for you? And the sister said, no, I'm not sad. I'm just too touched. I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for my Grandmaster. Just this morning, I've already found job. You know, both my husband and I, both of us got jobs. And so when this story came to us, all of us were so happy for them. And all of this happened because of her great courage and huge sincerity. She didn't even thought about next month whether she would even have food. And she offered her greatest sincerity to Buddha. And she left a message to Buddha. She said, oh, Grandmaster, you know, both of us are so busy working. But now even we have to work every single day and have no break at all. We're so happy. Well, Master said, congratulations, Buddha light shines on all. That's wonderful. And, you know, our Korean friends are not very convenient to leave messages and comments, but they actually benefited so much. So the center actually transferred their message to us. I'd like to share it with all of you. It's from the Haiyun Thai Center in Korea, and Gao Zhenji. He or she said, these months I have a lot of things that I have to that happened in my family that bothered me. And at the same time, her lower back also, you know, was hurt. And during the crushing the walnut, Master's energy healing, at the beginning she was not able to focus, but she was still trying to focus to receive the healing. All of a sudden, she felt that there's one walnut inside her body. All of a sudden was crushed and explode. And all of a sudden, the thought coming out, all the afflictions and all these, you know, worries will all go away eventually. And so after Master finished crushing the walnuts, she found that the lower back pain that has bothered her for many years has disappeared. She felt very light and comfortable. And the afflictions that bothered her for more than 7 months all completely disappeared. And she's full of gratitude. Oh my gosh, such a great benefit. And so she said, I'm so grateful for Grandmaster. You bless us so much. Thank you for guiding us this group chanting. I sincerely would ask Grandmaster to continue to lead us and guide us in the group chanting. And so thank you for sharing of the benefit. And today we are going to have today's teaching again. Grandmaster said, congratulations, our Korean friends. Congratulations that you received the Buddha light and received the blessings. It's so wonderful. And today, we're going to talk about family precepts. So I'd like to introduce the concept. You know, when we are living in the world, we need to understand the law of the nature and respect the law of nature and even revere the law of nature. I found a lot of the mistakes that we make as big as, national policies to company decisions and to our personal, choices in our job, in our family, and parenting and socializing, and all the mistakes that we make are because we don't know. It's really because we don't know, so we're not afraid. Because we're not afraid, then we made mistakes. And because we don't have respect or reverence, and then we would harm others. And so, you see, the government, if they have the wrong policy, then it will harm the whole country, the whole nation. Why should we talk about the government? Say, for example, if they exploit all the natural resources without any plan, without limit, then this generation might have a lot. But what about the next generation? Years ago, when I visited Japan, the Japanese friend, told me, actually, we never know Japanese product. We only know about the automobiles and fishing product. They never sell any natural resources. Why? If you look at the map, they only have the land. Well, it's like an island. They didn't use their own natural resources. They purchased all the coals and oil and everything. I heard that they actually has established like an underground storage area. It's a huge underground storage area. As long as they can purchase the natural resources, they got them in and store them in their underground storage area. So they know their state. They know that for a smaller country, they don't have that much natural resources to exploit. For China or Canada, we have a big land. Like in China, in Shanxi province, they heard that there are coal, then they just dig out the coal, and then they would sell. And if they can find iron, they would dig out the iron, and if they find gold, they would sell gold, and the whole mountain have like thousands of holes. So these are the policy mistake. And if you dig out all the resources, what are you going to leave for your next generation? The earth is actually very small. You think it's very big. But now you see, with the airplane, we can fly around the world in a very short period of time. And maybe a month we could travel all over the world. And so this globe of Earth actually cannot handle these exploitations. And so government, as big as government, as small as every individual families, we all need to understand this. If we don't know, then we will harm, and we will not have respect or reverence, and even a little bit of owl. And so this is very holding out and veneration. So the first character, Jing, means respect, and Wei means owl, or a little bit of fear, even, like afraid. And so in the United States, in winter, if you only wear shorts, how can you bear it? A lot of the people from Singapore, they don't have thick coats. Usually, they only wear shorts. But if they come to the United States, they still wear shorts. How can they only wear shorts? If you don't wear more, then you probably will get a coat. One year, a girl from Taiwan, in her 30s, she's quite pretty.
那个他跟我呢去这个白油就是白猪油啊，哎，就是
And her skin is very
我们去住个旅馆。哎，他为了给我露个手，因为我们刚认识不久。
She just know me for a short period of
我
time.
们这个禅堂做事儿。
And
他挺能写作。
she's very good at writing.
他说我呢，
And
他说我和我所有的台湾作家朋友一起， 我们有一个就是不成
my
文的一种
Taiwanese
习惯。
writer
我们每
friends
天
and myself,
除了泡温
we
泉就要
have
游泳。
a
我说如
habit
果到
of
了洛杉
either
矶
go
就是干旱，
to, you
没
know,
有水
the
怎么办？
hot
他说
springs
我也得想
to
方设法游。
enjoy
所以
the
我们
hot
住那个
springs or
旅馆里
spring.
头还有一个
And so what if there's no
户
hot
外游泳
springs?
池，
And so
露天的呀。
they went to a hotel
那
and
个
they
时候
have
是
an
5月份，
outdoor
洛杉矶
swimming
的5
pool.
月份哈，
That
叫做
was
不冷
May
不
in
热。
Los Angeles. It was not too
哎
cold, not
但
too
是到了
hot.
傍晚的时候，
But
就要穿个
when
薄
it's
棉袄。
already
这
dawn,
大姐呢，
you already
等
need
我
to
们到了
put
旅馆
on
3
some
点钟，
thick
等她要
clothes.
下来游泳的时候5
And
点，
when
天已
she
经开始
came
凉快，
down
要
to
准备
swim, it's
穿
already
棉袄
about
了。
5 p.m.
她穿个游泳
And she
衣
was
光
wearing
跳到水里去。我们忙我们的，
swimming
当然我没
suit.
见她游了。
We were
但
busy,
事
so we
实上
didn't
当
see
天晚上
her
11点钟给我们打电
swimming.
话，
But at 11 p.m.,
有人吗？
she
帮
called
帮
us. She
忙。
said, "Oh, anybody
我找医
there?
生，
Could you
发
help
烧
me
了。
to find a
对
doctor?"
对对，
She
所
got
以你这个
a
对
she
自
got a
然的敬
fever.
畏，这种
And
很
so
简单。
just need to
那个冷
respect
的
the
不是我给
weather.
你造成的，是天气呀，
You know,
是
I
美
didn't
国
make
造
you
成
cold.
的， 对不对？
It's
也
the
不是美国
weather.
政府
It's
啊，
the
是
temperature.
天气。
It
所以
wasn't
我们对
United
自然的
States that
敬畏，
hurt you. It's just the
你不
weather there.
敬你也不
You
行
need to
啊，
respect
是不是啊？
that.
你有所畏惧，
You
所以
need
在
to
这样
be,
的地区
uh,
生活的
you
人啊，
know,
本地人有
to
经验
care
的都
about
是，
that.
无论多
And
么年
local
轻，
people, they're
比如说中
very
午他包里多
experienced.
带件衣服，对不对？也带一件
Maybe
什么
they
短
would
裤短裙，是
bring
吧？中
different
午他到的
layers.
时候就可
In
以穿个薄一
you
点的
know,
衣服。
lunchtime it's
到了
very
傍
hot.
晚和一早的时
Noontime
候还得
it's
穿着小棉袄，
warmer.
这
They
是
would
很正
wear
常的
maybe
事情。
one layer, and
哎，
then
就像个台
early
湾
morning or later
二
in
胡
the
大姐，
afternoon they would
哎，这
wear
个给您
another
感冒
layer.
了，
And
待了
this
7天，
lady
她打
from
了7天
Taiwan,
吊针，啊，真
she
挺好。
came to the United States,
哎，对自
and
然的敬
she
畏就是这样。
was in a
那你
hospital
不
for
服能
7
行吗？
days.
是不是啊？
And
要
so,
么就吊针是吧？卖
you
给
know,
谁呀？
you do need to
对，所以我
respect
们
the
在
weather.
四
You
季当
need
中，
to
从春
respect
天
nature.
开始播
And
种，
so,
雪
well,
化，
for
是
the
吧？
4 seasons,
到
let's
秋
say
天
spring,
开
you
始收
start
获。
to plant the
你
seed.
不管你在
In
世
the
界、你的
fall,
国家
then you
说什么
harvest.
的方言，你的肤色长什么
Whatever
样，你的
country
长
you
得美还是
are,
丑，
whatever
没关系，这个四
language
季
you
全世界都
speak,
一样。
4 seasons
是不是？中国人没去过
are
美
the
国的，说
same
美
in
国的
most
冬天长什
countries.
么样？
And a
美
lot of
国
people
冬天一
haven't
样冷，
been
记
to
住
the
这个就
United
可以了，
States. A
全
lot
世
of
界
Chinese
通行。
haven't been there. They say, "Oh, what's
哎，
the
冷就
winter
得穿
like in
棉
the
袄。
United States?" Well,
嗯，
it's the same
对，
as in China.
所以
It's
这
also cold, and you also need
敬
to
是
wear
因为你
coats.
懂得
You
它的规律
respect
和这种
because
规
you
律的强大
understand
性。
the natural law,
因为
and
看多了，
so
所以他
you
害怕，
know
所以
how
叫敬
powerful
畏。
natural law is. And when
对，
you
就是。
see
所以我们对
the
什么东西敬畏呢？我们对这
when
个
you see
人间的伦理。
the natural
比如
law,
说，哎，见了爸爸
the
要尊敬，
result
妈
of
妈
it,
要爱
then you
护，
of
是
course
吧？
you would
对
revere,
孩子呢要
and you
疼
need
爱
to
他。
respect your
哎，这个
parents,
这种伦
and
理纲常
you know
要
we
敬
need
畏。
to
那我
also
们在生活在任何一
respect
个国家
the
地区哈，
all
对
those
法律要
ethical
敬畏。
rules, like
你看每个世界
children
每个
respect
国家的
parents
人，
and parents love their
哎，
children,
都有一
and
种
we
人
also
容易
need
犯一个
to
交通法。
respect the law.
容易
Some
犯一
people,
个交通法
you
规。
know,
什
in
么
many
人呢？
countries, they
18岁到
they're
22岁
from
之间，
maybe
年
18
轻
years
的男
old
孩
to
开快车，
22 years
刚
old
拿到
young
驾照
man.
像个疯子一样，
They're
越不会开车开
very
越快，
likely
是
to
吧？总
break
觉
the
得我们开
law,
快了就觉得没开
traffic
车。
rules.
啊，
They
这荷尔蒙，
always want to
男
drive
人
too
都发生一
fast.
种速度，
You know, young men
但是一定要有
especially,
钱。
they
为
like
啥呢？
speed.
警察专门
But
抓这
you
种
really
年
need
轻
to
的
be
男人
very
的速度
rich
问题。
because the
一次
policemen
抓
are
了200，
waiting
一
for
次
you
抓了200。
for
在
over
我们这
speed.
个城市的警察哈，可富裕了。
In
每
our
天晚上
country,
只
I
要在
would
那条
think
直一
the
点那个道
policemen
上，就你只要
they
警车开
would
得快，
catch
盯得
a
紧，
lot
每天
if
晚上收好几万，
they
真的挺
if
好
they
的。
watch
人家警察
carefully.
养的都
Maybe
挺好。
every night they
哎，
can
这就开快车，
receive fines
你
of
对
I don't know, maybe thousands of dollars.
这还真是没有发生交通事故，对不对？
And that's only for overspeed. It's not a traffic accident yet. So we really need to respect the law. Some people don't care about law. Some people are very clever. They think that they break the law and they won't be caught. Well, even if the police cannot catch you, the nature will still catch you. And Another aspect of revere is that we need to revere or respect human beings. Say, for example, adults, man or woman, we need to respect seniors. In China, in Beidaihe, there was we call Shanghai Guan. There were many people who, it's a scenic spot, and so they, because that's the first, it's the first pass or the first gate, and it's called the first gate of the world, and so it's called, and there are lots of people taking pictures there. And so they are trying to give you costumes so that you wear those costumes to take a picture. And then before you even put on the costumes, they've already took pictures of you. And they've already taken maybe 7 or 8 pictures. And one day, there's an old woman, and with her maybe niece and another man following her. And so the photographer tried to catch this old man and give her costumes. And while she was picking, and she said, no, I don't want to take a picture. And so the photographer showed her many costumes, but then she needs to pay 560 yuan. But they've already taken many pictures of her. While she was just trying these on, they've already taken lots of pictures, and they want to charge for these pictures. This old lady said, well, I didn't say I want to take pictures. Why should you charge me? But the photographer said, well, they didn't even explain. They just say, well, if you don't pay, you can't go. And then the old lady said, are you robbing? I didn't want to take picture, but the photographer said, oh, look at this. There are so many pictures of you. And so at the end, while they're arguing, the old lady brought some young, her niece and another young man, and so they fight each other. And then other photographers also fight with them. They fight. The old lady fall down, and then her wrist also broke, and they also beat the young lady and man. But this old lady is the mother of a very high-level official in the central government of China. And so this official immediately sent a team of policemen to investigate the whole thing. And even the governor of Hebei province, and also, all of those photographers were put into prison. So this is a very clear case of respect. Well, you really need to respect seniors. Whoever she is, you need to respect seniors. And when I go to Korea, they are very respectful. Or in Japan, they are very respectful. Even before you talk to them, they are already bowing to you. They're very polite. They're always, you don't understand what they're saying because you don't understand the language, but you know that they're saying either good morning or good afternoon, and they're bowing, and you feel so comfortable because you see that they're so polite. And even though you don't understand, but you can feel their politeness and their respect. But when I go to China, when I go to the elevator, they don't say anything. They don't even greet. And they don't have any of these etiquette. And because after the Cultural Revolution, they are not afraid of anything, I guess. So, and let's talk about couples. Even starting from, boyfriends and girlfriends, you need to start to respect each other. Because usually we use respect towards somebody who are senior. But even to someone who's the same age, you should also respect. If you do not respect, there may be unpleasant things happening. Because of the love you want to give instead of you wanting always to get something, let alone harm someone. For those couples who are already married, that's even more. And so otherwise, there will be problem. And we also need to respect our job and also our investment, because there are lots of traps, you need to be very careful. You always have that awe. And so when you are spending, you need to have that kind of awe, because you need to think it over whether you need to spend that money. And for the brand, you also need to have that respect. When, those famous brands, usually they put a lot of effort in making those high-quality brand name clothes. And so you need to respect that. And do you respect your house? If not, if you do not love and protect your house, if you stay there, live in the house for 10 years, maybe equals to other people living there for 40, 50 years. And some people live there for 30 years, but then you feel like the house has only been lived for 2 or 3 years. Then you know that the owner of the house are very cultivated. You almost feel that they never fight in the house, and they always love everything and care about everything, and that's so wonderful. And also to the insects, ants and other insects. Oh, so many respect towards almost everything. Now it's already summer. There are mosquitoes everywhere. Usually when the mosquito comes, you would just clap on it and then kill the mosquito. And then you say, oh, some people, they use a big net to cover them so that the mosquito will not bite them. If someone who cover themselves always with the net, then, well, that's not right. Well, let me tell you, for you to boost your immune system against illness, against cold, you actually need some bite from the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes will send in a tiny amount of some, bacteria or a virus. If it's too much, maybe it's not good. But this tiny amount, once you get used to that, you actually develop a kind of antibody to that virus. If you live in the North Pole and mosquito has never bite you, if you come to the society, even within a year, you might not be able to survive, because any of the virus would even kill you. And so everything in the world actually lives with a reason. Actually, how big is the mosquito? They used to be like the dinosaurs, very big, like an eagle. In order to help all of the human beings, they turn into such small insects and help you to boost your immune system. And ants are decomposed, and they decomposed a lot of lot of the garbage and help the cleaning of nature. They actually contributed a lot to the cleanliness and tidiness of the earth, and therefore prevent a lot of illnesses. And to prevent the pestilence. And so also bees, they sometimes will sting you if you're too close to the bees. If you're stinged, then you probably don't like it. But if there are no bees at all in the world, the whole human world will collapse because none of the plants will have fruit. We need bees. When they are making the honey, they will spread. They will spread the pollen and help the fruits to grow. Well, sometimes we buy some apples. They are not very round. It's actually because the pollen hasn't been spread completely. If there are no pollen spread, then there will be no fruit, no apples. And all grains like rice and wheat and beans, mango beans, they all have flowers and then have the seed. You know, all the agriculture experts, they all know. Some countries, they even give allowances to the bee farmers. Usually, the police, they always give green light to the bee farmers. If they don't have the bees in that area, then they won't have harvest. So not only, you know, the honey and lots of bee products are very helpful to human beings, but also spreading the pollen helps us to have the harvest. And so that's very important. You know, in the world we have all kinds of things in the world, big or small. They all have a reason to live in the world. Sometimes something doesn't seem to have a life. Say, for example, wind. Any seasons, we have wind. Let's put aside how the wind is formed. The wind, you know, blow, and then the pollen will go everywhere. And so that's very, very useful, very, very important. And so nature is well arranged, and that's why Buddha said, in this world there's you and me and him, and we have different kinds of plants. It's all because of the four elements, the earth and water and fire and wind. They form all kinds of lives. And even the invisible wind is also one of the elements. They didn't even mention light, but they mentioned wind. Some people, they got sick. It's because they had the draft, and then if they do not ventilate in the house, it's very dirty air. And if you open the window with the ventilation, you even feel happier. So without wind, then it's really bad. And so animals need wind, plants need wind to, to harvest and to grow stronger. And animals need wind to get stronger too. In nature, we have thunder. Joyce, do you know what is thunder used for? Oh, thunder can create electricity, and with the lightning, that will kill an old tree. Oh, that's very that will kill. Oh, some people, sometimes the lightning will also kill human beings, those who did wrong things. I'm sorry. Well, everybody is equal. You know, the thunder in the spring is especially important. It's like the awakening. There's a special time in the lunar calendar called awakening of insects. If they hear the thunder in the spring, then the the farmers will have harvest there. The local farmers will be happy, and because the thunder helps to awaken the land, so the land will awake from the winter sleep, and a lot of the animals, they hibernate in winter, bears and turtles, and some people, I know in Canadians, they always stay inside. It's almost like hibernating. And so once the spring thunder comes, that very peculiar energy awakens all of them. Right the next day, the land, a lot of plants start to sprout, and that will indicate a harvest in the fall. So see, it's so important. And in some places, for 3 days, they don't rain, and they're just that heavy, lot of clouds. What are they waiting for? They're waiting for the thunder and the lightning. Right after the thunder and lightning, the rain pouring down. And so those clouds are waiting and accumulating energy until the time when the thunder and lightning comes. And so you can see sometimes they have very thick cloud and they're waiting for the thunder. Yeah? You recall that? Yeah, that's the natural rule. And so nature is amazing. And if you look at all the beings in the universe, there's all this law of nature. Maybe we don't understand it, but we still need to revere nature. I hope every one of you need to revere everything, especially nature. Every being has their spirit and soul. And everything can turn into medicine. Whether it's Western medical system or Chinese traditional medicine, everything they can turn into medicine to heal us. Before this class, when I was preparing for the teaching, I saw wheat. This is a very common plant. Our flour comes from wheat. I'd like to remind you all, if we leave the wheat bran, and if you look at the color of wheat, it's kind of light brown, like the coffee color. And if you cook it, then you can eat this. But when you have those noodles or steamed buns, then it becomes white because the sellers of the noodles, Chinese people, they use white flour, and because a lot of people think the white flour is better. Actually not. Actually, even the bran is very nutritious, very important. If you eat too much white rice or white wheat flour, you're more likely to be sick because of lack of the nutrition. I actually recommend you to eat whole wheat and whole grain. It helps, including the bran, and it helps you to taking many nutritions, many elements, and helps you to grow. And there are lots of vitamin B and a lot of fiber, and it's exceptionally important. And so I hope when you purchasing the wheat, it's probably better to buy whole wheat. Not necessarily whole wheat, maybe a percentage of the bran, and then but pure white flour, and if you discard all of the bran, it's not the best. And they give the bran to the pig. That's why the pig always grow very well, because they have the better nutrition. And human beings, they're silly. They didn't understand the world thoroughly. But now, more and more people, they understand this. They start to purchase those, the wheat, including some bran. And when they are making flours, they not use machines, but they use the stone mills, so that the flour won't be too fine. And if it's too fine, it's actually not the best for human beings. And so I hope we would know more about everything, and then in the future, if you go and buy flour, you will buy the flour, including some of the bran. If you drink a lot of alcohol and then eat a lot of meat, and you don't take those fibers, then you might have constipation. But if you take the grains with bran and also with a lot of vegetables, then you would be much healthier because you're taking a lot of fibers. Once you understand this, this is very easy. There's no problem for constipation. But if you don't understand this, then it will become a problem. In the ancient, there's a book talking about facing upwards to the sky. We behold the vast immensity of the universe. When bowing our heads towards the ground, we revere the diversity of species. So we always should bear that reverence towards nature, toward universe, and towards everybody around you and everything around you, including, our tables in the office and your bowls and plates and knife and forks and chopsticks or your pots.
And therefore, 从桌子到餐具到做饭的锅碗瓢盆都要充满了敬畏之心。
we need to have that reverence towards them. So there's Lanting Tishu, which is the Lanting poem collection, preface to the poems collected from the Orchard Pavilion. And if you do not respect them, if you do not respect the table, maybe you always hit the leg of the table. And maybe the bowl, if you do not respect bowl, the bowl will be easily broken. And at least you should love them and respect them, and then you will feel that there are more cooperation. Everything has their soul. And sometimes you think, oh, the wood that makes the table, they're not trees anymore. They're already cut. And so everything has that consciousness. And they have that sense. And so for everything, we need to have that awe and veneration. And we love them. And in return, they will love us. And because you actually paid for buying them. And so you need to protect them and love them and care about them. And you have the responsibility to look after them. And therefore, they would also serve you better. All right. Okay, let me tell you a story. Well, this is a story about the owner of a mine, Mr. Zhao. Actually, a lot of people think that for human beings, the greatest pain is death. Well, it's hard to tell. But today's story
这
about
和
this
想死
Mr.
死不了
Zhao
相关的一件事。
is actually he wanted to
看看是
die,
活
but
好
he
还是活不好。
cannot die. Let's see
啊，
whether
这
it's
一
better
故
to
事一开
die or
篇
better
就
not
讲
to
这个
die.
话，听起来就不太
At the
祥和。
beginning of the story,
对，
when
事
we
实这个
tell
故事也
this,
不
it
太
doesn't
祥和。
seem to be very
那么
auspicious,
好故
but
事、坏故
this
事我都讲，
story,
这样
it
大
is
家
very,
也好从中呢，
you know,
能够学到
not
一些
that
什么。
fortunate for him, but we can learn
赵匡主
something
呢，
from
其实
this.
是当时
This
我们
Mr. Zhao,
中国的一个
he
小煤
was,
矿的，并不是那么完全
you
依照
know,
国家法
the
律进行
owner
开矿
of
的
a
一个
mine.
小煤
They
矿老板。
actually established they built the mine, didn't
他在一个
actually
小乡镇
according
开了一个小
to
型的煤
the
矿。
legal rules, and it
那
was
个人
built
开
in
这
a
个煤
very
矿
small
呢，
town.
他就没有那
It's a
么大的资金，
private mine, and he
而且
didn't
法
had
律
a
手续
big,
都不
he didn't
完
had
善，
too much
应
fundings,
该
and
是
he
也是
didn't
钻这
go
个法律
through
的空子，
legal
找些
procedures.
熟人呐、当地的官
Maybe
员呐
he
帮了忙
just
之后，
find
就是
some, you
在
know,
一种
social
不是完全合
connections
法的情况下就开，
and network,
所以
and
呢
then
都想做一本万利的生意，所以并不
and
会做
he
很多安
he
全的
still
投
had
资
the
啊、设
mine,
备
and so
安
he
全
didn't
呐、
had
是吧？
all these
人工安全
safety
的这些设施，
precautions,
他
and
都
he
懒得去
didn't
投
had
资，
all these
所以
safety
几乎没有
equipments,
什么安全保障
and
的设施。
so they actually
对，反正
he
找人进
didn't
去盗矿，挖了煤上来能卖钱就行。
he didn't
他就
prepare
要着这个
those.
干。
He was just
那
trying
结果
hard
呢，
to
经
make
营起来
money,
的时候，有时候发生了一些问题。
and therefore
有时候有
when
人
the
给这
mine
个
was operating,
其
there
中
were
砸死一个人
problems,
呐，
and
砸
so
伤几个
there
人呢。
were
遇
people
到这种
who
事情的时候呢，而且在煤矿里头，
died in
一
the
个砸死
mine.
人容易，
You know,
还容易
in the
发生那
mine,
个叫
they
瓦斯爆炸，就
they
是在矿里头，
sometimes have
因为
those
煤
the
矿
mash
当中容易
gas
出现那个瓦斯，
explosion,
对，
especially
它
in
是天
those
然的那个气
coal
气体，对
mines.
吧？
That's a natural
对，
gas, the
有人
mash
点个烟
gas.
呐，就是打火机碰一
So
下，
if they
可能不好点一下手机啊，就可能引发
smoke
爆炸。
and lit the cigarette, then
对，
without
那
excess,
所以的话呢，
without care,
这
maybe
个
they would
赵匡主呢
cause the
也经营了
explosion.
几年，
And so this
经
Mr.
营了几
Zhao,
年之后
the
呢，
owner of the
因
mine,
为
has
他这些
already
手续
operated for
不
several
合格，
years because he didn't
那
had the
就
proper
会这个
legal
当时的中国的这个公安部
certifications,
门就会
and
勒
so
令他
the
停止开采，
police
而
station,
且呢还接受
you
审查，
know,
因为也
in
发
China
生
they
了
call public
听说有
security
发生
department
了这个
force
这个
him to
矿难
stop.
的问题，
And I
就
heard
是
that
说
they
知道
also
的
had the mine
瓦斯爆炸
accident,
炸死一人，重伤
and
两
the
人。
mash gas explosion
但是
has
对于开煤
hurt
矿
one
的小老
person.
板来说，说这个
Uh,
也是最
one
讨厌的
person
事情
died and several
啊，就
people
不愿意发生这种事。
seriously injured.
但是
Well,
今
he
天
didn't
当做
want
一个
it
事
to
情，
happen,
政府在调查的时候，他也一样被关进去接受审查。
and when the government
这个
investigate
时候
this,
在
he
参
would
与
have
这个
to
调
be
查工作当中有位李警官，
put in.
哎，这个李警官其实是这个调查的主调查人员、主管之一。
There was a
所以
policeman,
得把
Mr.
这个
Lee,
赵老板关进拘留所之后，
and
那
he's
么
the
2年
main
以后
police
才来正
person.
式审理这个案子。说赵老板
And this
一
Mr.
看没在拘留
Zhao
所，
is
是怎么呢？
detented,
说这个
and he,
好像
Mr.
是
Lee
什么
came
糖
to
尿病
see
犯
him
了，
and said,
得
"Oh,
了
he's
病了，
not in the
要送到医院
detention
里去了。
place." And so they told
那
him
这个
that
赵老板呢，
Mr.
本来
Zhao,
他是一个
because of
身材很
diabetes, he
魁
was
梧，
sent to the
很健
hospital.
壮，而且
But
这个个性
before
非
this,
常的
Mr.
强
Zhao
硬的。
was very strong and
所以
tall,
这个警
and he
察
had a
的
very
问
strong,
话呀、提问一些
you
问
know,
题，他
strong characteristic.
特别有个
And
性
when the police
啊，
talked to
爱
them,
答
he
不
was
理的那个
very,
样子啊，特别的牛。
you know, he was,
对，
he didn't
所以
even
这个
talk
李
to
警
them,
官在
didn't
提问问题的时候，他根
respond.
本不把李
And
警
when
官放
Mr.
在眼里。
Lee was asking
所以你
him
也不用问
questions,
我，
he didn't
我告诉你，
say anything. He just said,
过不了
"Don't
10天
ask
半
me.
月，
Let me
就有
tell
人
you,
把我保
after
出去，
10 or 15
你也别
days,
把我当成
somebody
一个犯人
will
来审
set
理，
me free."
我也不怕你，警察我都
And do
见多了。
not,
所以这个当然了，警官
you
也是
know,
遇
there
到
will
这
be
样的人也
somebody
比较多，
release me
因
on
为很
bail.
多人还是说有一些人际关系呀，手里又有一些钱财呀，
Mr. Lee knows
对吧？
that some
所以
people
就
they
是也
have
不太
some
在乎
money,
警
and
察对
then
他的那
they
个一
they
些
have a lot of
问讯的，
social, you know,
他也不跟你
network.
配
They
合。
don't really care about those
可是
policemen.
呢，
They don't
这个
cooperate
赵老
with the
板呢，
policemen.
他
But
是有
this
糖尿病，
Mr. Zhao,
所以在医
he
院里
had
头，这个
diabetes.
当住下来之
And
后
so
呢，
when
他发现
he
自己这
stayed
个
in the
病
hospital,
会越来越
he
明显，
his diabetes became
所以
more
几
and
天
more
以后就
serious.
在医院就
After a
发
few
生了这个
days,
他的糖尿病
his diabetes, and also he has stones in the gallbladder, and he also had heart disease, and he couldn't be put into prison. He had to be kept in the hospital. After 4 months, this Mr. Zhao, finally, the court has already sentenced him for 6 years in prison. But because of his health issues, he couldn't be put into prison. He had to be in a police hospital and stay in the hospital. And this Mr. Li, the policeman, because of his work, he often go to the police hospital, and he knows this Mr. Zhao, the owner of the mine. And so every time Mr. Li went to the hospital, he would go to visit Mr. Zhao and see how he's doing and how his mental state is. Does he need any help? And this Mr. Zhao is the owner of the mine, and so he was quite wealthy. Even in the police hospital, he had his single room. And eventually, because he sees Mr. Li very often, so they get very familiar with each other. One day, all of a sudden, he asked Mr. Li, he said, "Oh, Mr. Li, do you have any religious belief?" And Mr. Li said, "Well, actually, I do have belief in my heart. I believe in Buddhism." And then this Mr. Zhao didn't say anything. Well, sighed and didn't say much. And after a few days, this Mr. Zhao got even more serious, and he was transferred to another hospital because the police hospital cannot help him, cannot cure him. But because he is a prisoner, if he goes to a normal hospital, it's a lot of trouble. So usually hospitals doesn't want to accept him, and then the prison doesn't want him because he was sick. And eventually he was still sent back to the police hospital. Before, this Mr. Zhao was like 1.8 meters tall. It's very tall, and he already stayed there for 8 or 9 months. His weight decreased to only 40 kilograms. He was so skinny. Before, he was very strong, but now he was completely skinny. And because he's so, he lost so much weight, his eyes are completely shallow and dented, and his ribs can be clearly seen. And when he's breathing, you can see his ribs up and down and moving. And his thighs, it's so thin. It's almost like an arm. All the flesh are disappearing. And so one day, the hospital did a surgery for him to take away the stone in his gallbladder. And so there's a very small cut in the abdomen. But because he has diabetes, and there's this complexion that actually reduced his ability to heal the cut. This small cut on the abdomen cannot be healed. And it doesn't unites, and so it starts to ulcerate and quite
所以呢，他这个
terrible.
多项器官都慢慢走向衰竭的道路。
A lot of his organs are deteriorating.
那这个李警官呢，
And
就
this
到医
Mr.
生那里
Lee, the
去调
policeman,
了他这个整
went
个
to
这个
the
医疗档
doctor
案来
and
检查，
checked
就是
his
他这个整个身体
medical
内脏的这种
files
衰竭的状
and
态程度，
see his
已经不能再
organs are
支撑这个
so
人能存活下去。
deteriorated that his
所以应该
body
这个人很快就
cannot
去
even
世了。
support him to survive,
但是他们
and
也
he
弄不
probably
清楚
cannot live
是一
too
种什么
long.
样的力量，
But he cannot,
应该这
they
种状态
they
他应
didn't
该
know.
要去世了，可是他就是
Well,
走不
for
了。
such state, usually
不知道
people would
为什么
already die,
他
but
衰竭到
they
这个
don't
程
know
度，
why
也
he's
别的病人早就
so
死了。
weak and thin.
所
Other
以赵匡主呢，
and he just
一
didn't
再
die.
给
He
李警官
couldn't
表示
die.
说，哎，我都不
And
想活
so
了，
this
现在
Mr. Zhao
我真的
always
太
say,
潦倒
"Oh,
了
he
死
didn't
了，
want to
我这样太
live
痛苦了。
anymore. It's
他说
so
我这个
painful.
全身
His
每一
whole
分每一
body,
秒都处在这个痛苦
every
的状态。
moment, every second
没有一个
is
是
in
好处的。
pain. Not a
非
single
常痛苦，
part of the
除了
body
他
is
等于还
good.
是一种叫做服刑的被判决的这种精神压力和痛苦之外，
In
最重要的是
addition
他身
to,
体本身的
you
痛
know, the mental
对
affliction from being
这
a
个
prisoner,
李警官呢，
even
过了一段
more
时间也非
is
常
the
忙，
physical
没有空
pain from his
去医院
illnesses.
看这个赵匡主。就
And
赵匡主呢，有天托这个护士啊，给李警
one
官打
day,
电话，有没有
because
请
Mr.
李
Lee
警官说你
cannot
来看看他。
doesn't have time to
看看这个状
to
况。
visit Mr. Zhao, and then
哎，
Mr.
这个
Zhao asked the
李警
nurse
官
to
还是
call
很善
Mr.
良，
Lee to
啊，
come.
我还是
Mr.
看
Lee
看
is very kind,
说
so
说不
he
定有什么
came
需求
to
来给我交代。
visit Mr. Zhao. Maybe
说
he
那天
need me
白天
something.
忙完了，
And so
李警官
after Mr.
拖着一个
Lee's
疲惫
work,
的身体，还
he was
是
very
坐着回
tired.
家。
He but he didn't go back home. He went to visit
就赵
Mr.
匡主那
Zhao.
个时候说话的
That
声音
Mr.
都快出
Zhao
不来声音了，
already
非常
were
的微
so
弱。
weak that his
就给他
voice
说了
is
另外
so
一件事。
low and couldn't even be heard. And he said
他说
something.
在10多年前，
He
他刚刚
told
开始
Mr. Lee
做这个
something.
小
He
煤窑
said
的时候，
about more than
因为没有
10 years
资金，
ago when he just started
有
this
托人呢，
small mine because he
这个
didn't have
雇人去
funding.
的，
He
雇
didn't
人
have
在火车站。
funds, and so
那
he
个当年
hired
的中国火车
someone.
站也有很多流
You
浪汉
know,
和农民
at the
工
train
之类的哈。
station,
哎，
they
骗来
used
了
to
一些
have
比较
some,
弱智的那些流浪
you
人，
know,
弱
some
智
some
力方面弱一些，
peasants,
又找不到
and
工
they
作，又
were
无家可归，
they
这
they're
样的流浪汉，
homeless,
哎，无家可归嘛，他把他们骗来，骗来之后，给
and
弄到他这
they
个煤井
were
里去搞煤，
mentally retarded,
这样
and so
对，无
this
付工
Mr.
资，
Zhao
只要雇
cheated
几个
them
保
and
安，
got them to his
只要直接
mine,
把他
and
们给
he
放走了
didn't
就可以。那白
pay
天住在
them
洞里去干活，
anything and just
啊，
put
那
them
一
into
干活也
work.
可能很久，
He
干很
just
天天
hired
干
some
很久，
guards
累个半死。
to
只要管
to
顿饭，
guard them so that they
管顿饱
won't
了饭
fled.
之后，为了第二天再去干
They
活。
won't flee, and so he
可是
only provide meals to them, no salary at all.
有一件事情呢，
But
当
one
这
thing
个
happened when
当这个有人去举报说这个他的这个
somebody
他这个矿煤
told
矿手续不全，
the police
手
that
续不全，
this mine they
并
don't
且
have
也有
legal
保安
didn't
或
go
者其他
through
人就是
legal
透露的消
procedures.
息，说雇佣残疾人或
And
弱智
maybe
者
somebody
进的
also
矿，既
disclosed
不
the
给工资，
information that he
放到
hired
矿里
those
头，
mentally
啊，
retarded
那
person to
这
work
样的话
there
一旦
without
传出去之
paying.
后，警察如
And
果来查来
if
找
the
的话，
police will come
他不就更
and
犯法了吗？
check and investigate,
赵老
then
板做
he
了另外一
would
件事，
break the law and it would be a big trouble. And so Mr.
就
Zhao
是把
did
他们走到
something
的那
terrible.
个地下煤矿的矿洞当中的一个部分，他们正好在那里挖煤的时候，
When
就
those
把那一段
mentally retarded
给炸
workers
毁了。
were
所
working
以这个20多个
in
这个弱
a
智的
part of
青
the
年人
mine,
在里头
he
挖煤的，
exploded.
活活全部
And
闷死
so
在
all of those mentally
这个
retarded
地下的
workers
煤矿这个坑洞里
were
头
all killed
没有一个人上来。
in the mine. None of them.
哇，这个李警官
survived.
听了之后，就
And this Mr.
真感觉到
Lee
惊悚啊！
was
怎么这么
astonished
大的一
to
件
hear
事？
this.
你
And
怎么能
he
这么
said,
做人？
how can you do
他说
that?
我现在，赵
And
矿主说，
this
我
Mr.
现
Zhao
在就是
said, Now, he said, that's the reason for him not to be able to die. Whenever he closed his eyes, those souls of those, previous workers who were killed by him, they came to bite him. And so he wanted to die, but he cannot die. They kept him alive, but suffering terribly. After long time, that small cut from that surgery, it was ulcerating all the time, and his body was also itching. Then he would scratch it, and then there would be other cuts when he scratched. And so his whole body, there's no piece of skin is complete. His whole body skin is ulcerated. And when at the end, he was confirmed to be dead. When the nurses were trying to carry his body, the nurses were shocked to see such a body, a patient whose body was completely in such ulceration with no single piece of good skin, and his bones were so crisp that if they gently touch it, it would just smash. And this Mr. Zhao, at the end, he had that consequence. If he didn't tell the story, nobody would even know the reason. That when he told Mr. Li, and so Mr. Li gathered some policemen to go to that mine and dig out the dead bodies of those mentally retarded person, and it was terrible. And so if you don't want other people to know that you did something bad, then don't do it. So it's terrible, quite terrifying. Therefore, I'd like to remind you, we truly need to learn to love lives and respect lives to all beings, older or young, more beautiful or not so beautiful, in different positions, rich or poor. We all need to respect them and love them, and even revere them. Okay. The next story is about a gardener. Okay, let me drink some water. This Mr. Zhao's heart is even darker than the coal. There are more than 20 lives were killed by him. And so he was tortured in this hell on earth, and he wanted to die, but he could not die, and he had this consequence in this life. Well, let's allow every audience to summarize what it means in this story, the moral of the story. So, anyways, let's talk about this story, the story of the gardener. This is a story about something happened in New York, in the United States. It's in Manhattan. In New York. New York is a big city. Manhattan is an area in New York. One day, a middle-aged woman in his 40s bring a boy to come into a garden beside the building, which is the headquarters of a very famous organization. And she sit down on a chair. This middle-aged woman seems to be, teaching a lesson to the boy, seems to be very angry.
在这个远处呢，有一
And
位上了年纪
a
的
little
老
far
人
away, there's
正在
a
修剪花园里的这些
older
小花圃
man who is actually trimming the garden, the
正在这个
shrubs.
过程之中呢，这位中年妇女
And
哎
right
掏出了一
at
盘
this
卫
time,
生纸，
this middle-aged
一下就
woman
扔到老
took
人刚
out
刚
some
修剪
tissues
过的
and
那
threw
个
it
那个小灌
on
木
the
树丛，
trimmed bushes
些长得那
that
个
the
样挺
old
可爱
man
挺好
has
看的
just
他经常
trimmed.
要有园丁修剪，
You know, the
人
garden
家刚
looked
刚修剪
so
过的，
beautiful.
整齐
It's
的。
actually
这种整洁
they
感在美
always
国
need
有修养的
gardeners
人
to
不会这么
trim
做
them.
这人有一
Usually,
点问题
people who are
刚被修
very,
剪过的地
you
方
know,
他扔一堆烂石
cultivate, they don't do this. They don't throw
这
tissues
个老
on
人
the
看的是
on
看这个
the
中年妇女
bushes. And so
当然也不太满意
the
的眼
old
神
man looked at
可是
the
中年
woman,
妇女呢
not very
也毫不
happy,
避讳的
of course.
回头
But
瞪了老人一眼
The
很
the
挑衅的
woman
说
looked back
就是其实用眼
at
神
the old
在挑衅
man,
的说你能把我
and
怎么样啊
his and her
你
eyes
看我一眼我瞪你
were
一眼怎么了
almost
就是这个
saying
意思
like,
老人没有
Well,
说什么走上前去呢将这个
well,
纸团
well,
呢捡起来
yeah, I'm
就扔到垃圾
like
垃圾桶里
she didn't want
可是
to say
没
sorry,
过
and
了
she
多一
like,
会儿啊这个
yeah,
中年妇女
that's
又
what I
掏出
did.
一盘烂
And
纸来
so the man
又
didn't
扔到
say anything and
这
picked
个
up the
捡过
tissue
的花
and
丛上
threw it in the garbage.
老人当然心里不
Very
舒服
soon after,
但是
the
还是忍
lady
气吞声
again
走过去
threw
将这
away
个
a
烂纸捡
piece
起来
of, you know,
扔到
tissue
这个垃圾
on
桶
the
里
bushes. And then the man didn't say
完
anything
了继续工作
again and picked up the tissue
但是老人
and
刚
put
拿
it
起
in the
剪刀再继
garbage.
续再剪小树苗的时
After
候这
the
个妇女又掏出第
old
三盘卫
man
生纸团
picked up the scissors, starting
又
to
扔过去
trim again, the woman
就是这
threw
样重复的
another piece of
这个
tissue.
女人扔了5、6次
And
老人
just
家
like this,
没有一句怨
this
言
woman did
就
it
捡了5、6次
5 or 6 times,
捡起
and
来
the old
扔到垃圾
man didn't say anything and
可是
picked
这
up
个时候
5 or 6
这位妇女
times
说
and
话了
and threw it in the garbage. And at this
说你
time,
看
the
见了吗
woman said,
就给这个孩
"See,
子说
she was
你看见
talking
了吗
to the little
就指着那
boy
个老人
and pointed
说
to the old man.
我
She
之所以
said,
这么做
The
我就
reason
让
for me
你
to do
看得明
this,
白
I'm just trying to
如
show
果你
you,
现在不好好
if
学
you
习
do not
以
study
后
hard,
就变成穷人
you will be a
没有
poor
出息就像
person
他一样
and
像这个老
will
头
be
一样
worth nothing, just like
你
him,
配做这
that
些
old man.
卑微下
You
贱的
can
工作
only do these,
啊
you know,
对他人
low
对
class
他人的恶劣行
job,
为你都不敢反抗
and
你
you
看他
will
敢
not
反抗
be
我吗
able to do
老人
any
离得不
good
远了 听得
job.
非常清楚
You see, and he
这位
didn't
女人
even
说的话
dare to
这一回
complain.
他放下剪
And
刀
then this man, of
走过来
course, heard this,
对
and
这
he
位
put
妇女
down
说
the scissors and
尊
came
敬的夫
to
人
talk to the
这里
to
是
the woman. He
我
said,
们这个
"Dear
集
lady,
团公司的
this
私
is
家花
the
园
private
按照规
garden
定
of
我们只
our
允许
organization.
本集团的员工才能进来
According to our rule,
这个妇女
only
说
the
我当
staff
然知道
of
了
this organization
我
are
就是这个集
allowed
团的员
to
工啊
enter
我
the
就在这
garden."
大厦里
And
工
the
作
lady
知道吗
said, "Oh,
你还以
of
为我是
course,
外
I
来的
am the staff of this
同时呢
organization."
在这个
And
他们一般工作证啊美国
And
的
she
工作
said,
证
"You
是
think
挂
I'm
在
not?"
脖
And
子
so
里
she took out her
挂在脖子里出来之后呢把这个证件
identification
插在
card,
怀
the
里
employee
给掏
card,
出来晃晃看这是我
and
工作证
shaked, I
因为
mean,
在这个公司
and
工
showed
作当
to
然是
the
荣
old
耀的
man.
事情是个很大
And
的公司
well, being a staff
Laura
here
看了
in
看
such a
哦
famous organization is, you know,
对这个
like a
妇女说
very
哎你
honorable
能不
thing.
能
And
借一下
so
你的
she
手机我
showed
用一下呀
So she showed him the
可是
employee card, and
这位
then
中年
this
妇
old
女
man
还是
asked
不情愿
her,
的
said,
把这个手机
"Could
给
you
了
borrow me your, could you
同
lend me
时
your
就
your
又
cell
去
phone?"
教训他
And
的
then
小
the
孩
old man,
你看见没有
the lady
像这
very
样的穷人
reluctantly
这么一大
lent
把
the
年
cell
纪
phone
连
to the
手
old
机都买
man,
不起
and she
你还
told
不
the
努力
young boy and
难道
said,
你将来
"See,
想变成
this
他那
old
个样
man
子吗
already
你
at
看他
this
多可
age, she
怜
couldn't even afford to buy a cell phone."
老人呢很快打完电话
You really
将
need
手
to
机
study
还给了
hard,
这位妇女
otherwise you'll be like him. And
没多一会
the
儿
old man quickly
就
finished
来
the
了一位
phone
打扮得非常
and
时尚
returned
的
the cell phone
一
to
个
the
男士
lady. Very
啊
soon,
恭恭敬敬
a
站在老人面前
gentleman in his
老
suits
人
very
用手指
respectfully
像我这样
stand
指
in
着
front of the
说我
old
现在
man.
建议你
And
立
the
刻
old
免
man
去
said,
这位女士在
"Well,
这家集团 公司所有的职务。
I would suggest you to remove
这个
any
青
of
年男子
the
好，我
position,
立刻照你的意
dismiss
思去
her
办。
from any of the position here in this organization. And then this man said, of course, okay, I'll do it right away. And this middle-aged woman was shocked to see this because she know this gentleman, because this gentleman was the the manager, the director of the human resources department. And so the lady went to talk to the gentleman and said, how come you are so respectful to a gardener? How come you do that? And then the young man said, you said he's a gardener? You're wrong. He is the president of our organization, Mr. James. The lady heard this. She immediately, her blood pressure rise and collapsed on the chair. Well, this story is a little bit more, lighter than the story of Mr. Zhao. You always need to bear some respect to anyone. And you really need to know respect, and then you can be a good person. And a lot of young people ask me, Master, could you tell me what should I do in the future? Where should I invest? I would say, if you want to do something, you need to learn to be first. If you don't know this, then you would have trouble in the future. If you happen, to make a lot of money, like maybe win a lottery, but if you do not know these basic respect and these morals, then you would have even more troubles. Do you want more stories? Yeah? Let me see if our online friends would like. I cannot turn it on. Our online friend said, we cannot just recognize people by their appearances. Don't think that, everybody, they are, presidents or they have authorities. But even towards a true beggar, you should think, well, anybody's ancestor might have some beggars. And maybe in the future, maybe you might be a beggar too. You never know. Remember, we told a story about the Han Dynasty. A minister, Mr. Dong, the emperor Deng Tong, who make those coins. Even the emperor really, respect him. And then the fortune teller said, you will even, starve to death on the street. And then the emperor said, no, I'm the emperor. I love you so much. I will guarantee you not starve to death. What would I do? I will let you manage all the money in the country. And how can you starve to death on the street? But still, that happened. You see, sometimes the fate and how to build a good fate, first learn to respect and revere. Now let me tell you another story about a bicycle repairer, a mechanic. A lady who drives a BMW. It's an expensive car than some other cars. And when she passed a bicycle repair shop, actually the BMW made a bicycle fall down, and then the lady stopped the car and came out of the car. And she asked the bicycle repairer, the mechanic, to compensate for the scratch on her car. It's actually her who made that scratch and made the bicycle fall. But she asked for the compensation. And the mechanic said, well, it's you who did this. I didn't do anything. You didn't see the bicycle. There is a scratch there, but it's not my fault. You shouldn't ask me for compensation. But this lady doesn't even have, it's not reasonable at all, and even push the mechanic. And she even said, I'll give you, well, I'll let you have a discount. Only give me 3,000 yuan, and then that's all. But otherwise, there will be more. And so the mechanic, because she was pushing the mechanic, and the mechanic used his hands to push back. But then, because, the mechanic's hands are dirty, and so he made the clothes very dirty. And then the mechanic said, well, the lady wanted to have more compensation, and the mechanic said, I don't have that much money. And then they were just arguing, and there's no way to solve. But the mechanic is quite reasonable and just wanting to end this argue. And so he said, well, how about I can wash the clothes for you? And then this lady just wanted to get the compensation from the mechanic. Just a bicycle repairer. He could barely earn maybe 100 yuan every day. And so how can he have 3,000? And then that lady phoned and asked for help. And so he asked for help from his parents, from her parents. So her parents lived just in the community, very close to a very upscale community, close to the bicycle shop. And so, when the father heard about the lady was, had an argue with the mechanic. The father didn't even, he was so angry, he didn't even ask for what happened. He just dashed to the bicycle repair shop and used that inflation pump to beat the mechanic and beat the mechanic on the head. The mechanic already had all the blood on the face, and he asked the mechanic to bring the compensation right away. And he even asked the mechanic to kneel down in front of his daughter and say sorry. And he even kicked at the mechanic. A lot of onlookers thought it's unfair, and so were trying to stop the father. But the father said, "Who dared to come? Otherwise, he would beat anyone who dared to come." And so this mechanic was very seriously hurt and beaten. And so this mechanic went away, and he said, okay, I'll get you the money. And so he left. After a few minutes, he came back. He said, I'll give you money. When he approached the father, the father was waiting for the money. He said, see, I beat you, and now you're getting the money. But the mechanic quickly took out the knife and stabbed at the heart of the father, and the father immediately fall to the ground. And then, because the mother was also, scolding this and abused the mechanic, and so he also stabbed the mother. And he didn't forget the daughter, that lady who's in the BMW. He grabbed the girl outside of the BMW and stepped on that young lady. He was not intended to kill anyone, so he didn't go anywhere. When the police came, he didn't resist and he didn't go away. He said, "That's hilarious. It's just I did kill them." And a lot of onlookers, the passers-by, all said, you know, these 3 people died. There's reason for them to die. It's just a cause and consequence. It's because they're too cruel to the mechanic. Some people also, of course, say maybe the mechanic is too cruel. I would ask you to think about this story and what is the cause and the consequence here. Well, you can contemplate on the story yourself. If
其实听得我也心里怪难受的，嘴里又干啊！我再喝口水还得，别再讲两句。
就是这种。
The entire family is broken. It started with something small. It's not worth it at all.
然后我们的网友
Our friends online say that they don't know how to respect, and they paid for their actions. Even if they regret it, it's too late. This is a very good summary. My mom said, harming other people is like harming yourself.
对，你说一个修自行车的师傅
A mechanic that fixes the bike, how much money would he have? And you have damaged the bike he is fixing. And he hasn't asked you to repair anything. You drive a BMW. Who has more money? How can you cheat a bike mechanic? You want to go to hell yourself. This is a very negative karmic bond. Let me tell you another story that's much gentler. You can take a sip of water first. And let's listen to the next story. The story of 2 sisters. In Taiwan, Taipei, there are 2 sisters. They committed suicide by burning charcoal. They died by carbon monoxide poisoning. When I was small, I had similar experience, not of a suicide, but carbon monoxide poisoning in the winter. And I lay on the bed for 3 hours before I could get up. But I was healed with 2 bowls of noodles. So you know what the effect of carbon monoxide is. So these 2 sisters, they committed suicide together. This is a true story that happened in Taiwan about 30 to 40 years ago. At that time, reporters went to report on the story. At that time, the laws were different, and so videographers was able to go inside to film the crime scene. So back at that time, filming the crime scene was allowed, and this story was very well known. The videographer is Mr. Lee. He is very brave, and he doesn't believe in anything, and he's not afraid of anything. He's a very strong, a very large man. So the sisters that committed suicide, the reason for the suicide is very simple. The younger sister had a boyfriend, and she found out she found out that her boyfriend is actually the boyfriend of her sisters. And the older sister was in a relationship, but she didn't tell anyone. But when the sisters showed pictures to each other, they realized that it's the same person. And they went to talk to the guy and found out that the guy was just cheating on them. He was just playing with them. And so the sisters were very sad and committed suicide. And when they committed suicide, they tied a red ribbon around their wrist. What does it mean? There are also people who commit suicide wearing red clothing. Some people would say that having something red means that you want to come back and take revenge. I don't know how the reporter was connected to the police, but when the police came, the reporters and the videographer was there. So when they were moving the corpse out, the videographer was there. And they first brought the older sister out and then brought out the younger sister. And videographer Mr. Lee said to the reporter beside him that, I know why this guy cheated, because the younger sister is much prettier than the older sister. He said that. And listen to what happened, what the result is. In the business of reporting, you shouldn't be saying anything. You shouldn't comment on who is prettier. And especially to people who have just passed away. And somehow, the people who were carrying the corpse, the younger sister's body fell onto the floor. And the videographer screamed because the younger sister's eyes opened. The reporter was very scared. And the videographer was scared. Nobody else saw that the younger sister's eyes opened. The videographer was carrying. He was filming all the time, and so they went back to check the film. On the way, when they are back to the news station, everything was clear except for the minutes when the corpse fell onto the floor. But the videographer continued to insist that he saw the younger sister's eyes open. On the second day, the videographer didn't come to work, and his supervisor doesn't know what happened. So he called the videographer to ask him why. The videographer didn't come to the TV station until 6 p.m. in the evening. Ever since then, the videographer starts to have illusions. When he left work to go home at night, he actually passes by a tunnel. And the tunnel is very close to the funeral home. So the videographer rides a motorcycle back home. And when he was riding on the motorcycle, he felt that there is someone behind him. And he looked back and saw the two sisters standing at the tunnel, and they started to chase him. So he accelerated and rushed back home. And when he got back home, he had a fever and just dazed off. When the supervisor called him and asked him why, he told the supervisor what happened, that the two sisters chased him. But the supervisor didn't believe him, because no one would believe such a thing. In Taiwan, there is a Taoist temple. If you Google it online, you can find it. It's called 行天宫. There are masters in 行天宫 that helps to calm people's spirit and souls. They even provide this service today. And so the videographer went to the 行天宫 to have his spirit and souls calmed. But even though when he comes to work, his behavior is very different from before. For example, when he takes an elevator, there's nobody in the elevator, but he says that there are many people in the elevator. Even when his co-worker says that there's nobody inside, he would say that there are people inside. Or that he would suddenly say, hey, that sister is here again. He always have these illusions, and he couldn't work. It seems as if he has a mental issue, and so he was dismissed from work because he couldn't work. 1 year later, 1 year later, he was in the news himself. How? He passed away. The tunnel in a piece of empty land beside the tunnel. He committed suicide in a car. He committed suicide by burning charcoal. And the date of his suicide is the same date that the two sisters committed suicide. And what else? When his colleagues held a farewell ceremony for the videographer, it was at the same funeral home as the two sisters. It sounds very uncomfortable, right? This is the end of this story. I want to remind you to have reverence and fear. Remember, we need to respect the deceased. If they have already passed away, don't say anything bad about them. Let me take a drink. Another story. New story. Less scary story. The story is called The Story of a Bowl. There is an elderly. He works at the Chinese Cultural Property Department in the Chinese government. So this old man has 2 daughters and 1 son. And his wife has passed away very early. And so he raised the children by himself. All 3 children have work and are married. The old man didn't even buy any new clothes for himself. He gave everything to his children, especially the younger son. The good food are all given to his children, everything. At Chinese New Year, he would buy a little piece of pork and give it all to his children, and he wouldn't drink even the pork soup. He is a very cultivated and polite old man. So after the old man retired, one day he had a severe cold and accompanied with cough, and he couldn't get well in 3 months. His children came to look at him very frequently. The children took turns, and when they came to see the old man, they would all ask the old man the same question. Dad, when we were small, you said that you had a very precious antique bowl that was used by the royalties. Where did you put it? When they talk about it, the old man could see their expressions. They were greedy. And the man said that he hid the bowl in the house, and when he has time, he'll bring it out and show it to the children. But one day, and so the children visited him frequently with food to show that they are the most respectful of their father. They wanted to show their filial piety. So one day, the old man brought all 3 children to his home, and he said that this bowl belongs to the government. Let me tell you the truth. I actually stole this bowl. We are not able to afford to buy it. So the old man said that we need to donate it back to the government. The 3 children were stunned. Really? That's how? What if we don't donate it and keep it and hide it? But what if the police come? Okay, then that's not hide it. That's donate it. We don't want to be sentenced to prison. So the 4 of them, they contacted the Cultural Property Department and donated the bowl. And the government was very happy, and they told them that this bowl is from a certain dynasty and it's very precious. There are only a few that are still available in this world. And their story was reported in the newspaper too. The children asked the father, "Do we have anything else precious?" The father told them that, "I only stole 1 bowl. There's nothing else." So the children looked around the house and couldn't find anything else precious. They all had a very normal income. They are not business people, and they didn't have a lot of savings. But after the donation, when the old man fell sick again, for an entire year, none of the children came to see the old man. At first, the old man saw that the children was very busy, or that if he somehow harmed the children and made them angry. But when he called them to ask, they all found some excuses not to come. But during this year, when the old man is sick, there is a neighbor. The neighboring young man came to visit the old man very frequently because his children didn't come to visit the old man. So this neighboring young man would bring food that his mom cooks and talk with the man and play chess with the man. But this young man has no idea of the man having anything precious. The old man doesn't have very good health, and when the cold weather comes, he would cough and have a cold. So the neighboring young man would visit the man during the evening and go back home to sleep and go to school the next day. But later on, the young man, because the old man always felt sick, the young man decided to move in with the old man to take care of him. 2 to 3 years later, the young man was accepted into a university, and he could no longer take care of the old man anymore. And the old man was also afraid that he might die someday. And before the young man went to university, the old man called the young man and his parents to his home. The old man said, "My parents were in the antique business. In 1949, when the new government was established, my father has donated many antiques. He only kept 2 small bowls. My great-grandfather purchased these bowls with a lot of money that could buy many houses. And my father told me to keep it and not sell it, and to give it to my descendants. But my children are not respectful. They only want the bowl." And so the father tested the children with this bowl. He donated one of the bowl to see that if his children will continue to care for him. There were 2 bowls, so he donated one and hid one away. The old man told the young man's parents that this is a very kind, good person. He is leaving Beijing to attend the university out of town. I don't know when we will be able to meet again. I want to give this bowl to him as a gift. The young man said that we have many bowls at home. We don't need another bowl. The old man told the young man that this is a certain type of bowl. In the entire China, there are only 7 or 8 bowls like this. Even the royal palace only has one in their museum. And he told the story of how his grandpa, how much silver ingots was used to buy this one bowl. In today's day, if you auction it off in Hong Kong, it would worth billions and billions of dollars. So, and the young man said that, "No, I don't want it. It's too precious. It's too valuable." The old man said that even if you don't want it, if I give it to I'd regret it if I give it to my children. It's a waste to give it to my children. This is a valuable and precious thing. I want to give it to you because you are kind. A treasure should be owned by a kind person. And he told the young man that we are just passers-by. If we have the opportunity to keep the treasure for this world, it's already enough.
是这样。
You can just
到
be
后来
a
我知
keeper.
道的中国一个著名的超级的古董商，找人
Later
找这个
on,
孩子，
I know that
这个
one
孩子
of
为这个事儿
the
为这
very
个碗
famous
离开
antique
了北京，
businessmen
连着搬了
came
2、3次
to
家，现在搬哪去
find
我
the
也不知道
young
了。
man to get
有人
this
出10个亿，
bowl,
最
and
后
he
烧到
offered
底
the
了，
young man
说
over
这是一份情
$100
谊，我
billion.
不卖。这小伙儿也是
And
有骨气，
the young
打死
man
都不卖。
moved to avoid the antique merchant,
这
and
是
he
一只
didn't
小
want to
碗
sell the bowl. So this is the story of the bowl.
一个人
A
对生
person,
养的父母都没有一个恭
if a
敬、
person does
珍
not
惜、
respect,
敬爱之心，
cherish, love
就
their
没有个人
parents,
情味儿，
then they don't
任何的
have
宝物
any
都会从
emotions.
他的手边溜走。
They will lose
哪怕
grasp
今天
of
你穷
any
得吃不上
treasure.
饭，流浪街头，
Even
如果
if
有一
you
个
are
高尚
homeless
的、
today,
善
but
良
if
的
you
人
have
品，
a very kind
老天都
morals,
会关爱
the
你。
heaven will take care of you.
对，所以希望大家
So I hope
也从中能学到一
So I
点。
hope everyone can learn something from it.
大家听累了吗？
Are you tired from listening to the
没听累。
stories?
因为讲的故事啊，都很多还是有伤感和惊悚的
Some
哈。
of these stories are very painful. Some are very scary.
如果还想听呢，听下一次讲。
If you want to hear
今
more,
天呢，
we'll
我还给
we
大家
can
准备
talk
另外
about
一
more
个节目，
stories in the next
就是
session.
呢，
Today
我
we
们
have
在现
something
场
else
呢
to
给大
do.
家很出丑呢，一边聊天呢，一边
Today
画一幅小画。
I want
那么之
to
后呢，
draw a
在
painting,
YouTube 上头来抽10位得
and
奖。
I want
之后
to
呢，我这幅画拍那个
find
照片就寄给你。
10 participants
这是
on
现场画。
YouTube,
如
and
果
I
你
will
有
draw
事
your
忙呢，
name
你先去忙。
and
如果你有耐心呢，
mail the
看我
painting
画
to
画
you.
呢，我也不
If
是
you
画
are
家哈，
busy,
你
you
不会
can
想着画
go.
的多么精美
If
哈。
you're not, then you
这
can
是一种
stay.
感觉。
I'm not an
我
artist,
能画画，你可以跟着看。
so it might not be that pretty, but so I'm going to start drawing. You can stay here and watch.
网友，我们的网友都好激动啊，都非常有幸能够看到师父画画，因为大家都特别喜欢师父的画作哈。
Many people like Master's paintings a lot, and it's a very good chance for them to see you paint live. Many people are leaving comments. Many people are also enthusiastic and they wish to be drawn. My painting comes from the saying that this world is created because of the harmony of the earth, water, fire, and wind. Blue is water, yellow is earth.
但是它会混啊，就是说，这个物质与能量的转换之中，它通常是
The interplay of elements and materials, they come together. So this is the harmony of the four elements, the karmic bond between the four elements. In blue, there's green. In the 5 directions, green represents wood, and it represents liveliness and youth. All right, there are already 4 flowers. We need 1 last flower. What color should I use? What does the friends online say? They like all the colors that Master is using. When they watch Master paint, they feel that they are being healed. All their anxiety is gone. And somebody used an analogy that when a cultivator sees a flower, they will be able to see the Buddha. Someone else suggested that if the flower can be printed on a t-shirt. Another person is asking Master, how do you feel when you paint? Someone else says that they are grateful for Master to heal us with a paintbrush. I would like you to know that we need to learn to calm down. We need to exercise our patience. And this is very important. When we have patience, and if you just watch me calmly, you are not saying anything, you are not in rush, and if you can even enjoy it, that is good manners. All right. Today I've painted a very simple painting of sunflowers. I really like sunflowers. I drew 5 flowers. I hope you will receive 5 different types of auspiciousness. It's also called 5 flowers blossoming on your head. And when that happens, a person must be auspicious. When you have learned compassion, the compassion of flower blossoms. And when the 5 poisons fade away, the flower of auspiciousness and wisdom will blossom in your spirit, in your life, just like these 5 flowers. So I hope with Buddha's concepts, with the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and wind, with the 5 different colors, I hope that it will become auspiciousness and compassion. And I hope that you will be kind, compassionate, have love for all, have tolerance for all. I hope our life can be happy. All right. So this painting is completed. So next, I will draw 5 winners. And I hope you will come online on YouTube. All right. I will sign the painting and I will take a photo of the painting and mail it to you. And I hope you will receive the 5 types of auspiciousness in life. All right. The iPad I'm holding has the Chinese YouTube channel open, and I'm going to draw. Jie-Zhen, remember to call me to stop. All right, I'm getting ready to start. Oh, let me hold it. 金来句 Congratulations, 金来句 Have you remembered it? Yep. All right, let's do one more. Stop. Elaine Chi. Elaine Chi, take a picture. All right, let's do one more. Everyone has a chance. Remember to leave comments to have more chance. Stop. Lucy Lee. Lucy Lee. She only wrote 2 words. The sun. All right, let's do one more. There's still chance. I'm going to go to the back a little bit. Let me get started. Stop. Dun Dai from Singapore. Congratulations. She only showed me some hearts. All right, one more. Stop. The Junero.
中庸，他就写的密密密，就是我。
The Junero.
哦，
This person only
这
wrote
个
me,
好
me,
啊
me.
啊好，再继续来。
Let's continue.
停。
Stop.
我要的是这个。
Kit San Kun.
空空，你大点声啊。好，空亏散。
恭喜。
好，恭喜恭喜。
Congratulations. How many
6个了哈。
have there been
还有
6?
4个呢哈。
Okay, there's 4 more.
来来来。
哦，对，还有英文平台呢。
Oh, right.
好好
There's
英文
also the
英文
English channel.
嗨，忘了，英文平台哈。
Let's go on to the English channel
好
now.
开始了。
Let me get started.
平台的有机会哦。来来来来来来来，抓抓抓抓抓。好，停。
Stop.
这个。
谁呀？
Sunshine.
阳光啊。
Sunshine.
桑晒，照下来哈。
阳光跟我们的太阳。
Master, please let me have the picture of your
英文平台
artwork.
再来一个哈。
One more.
好，还有机会哦。
One more for the English channel.
来来来
来来来，
抓抓抓抓抓，点点点，看是谁呢？停。
Stop. Alvin Liu.
Alvin Lu，
恭喜，
Congratulations.
抓到了哈。好了，
抓到了，幸运的
Korean channel now.
韩文平台。
韩文平台来了哈。
今天他们听到读了那个韩国的那个介
来
绍，
喽
都开心的不得了。
Hello，
来了，更开心的。
Let's get started.
来喽。
来来来，停。
Stop.
果絮，
果
果
絮.
絮，
恭喜果絮，
Congratulations, 果絮.
果絮，
好，抓到了。
果絮啊，好，好，再来一个吧，
One more.
机会哦
再来一个哈。
好，韩国的同修啊，马上美梦就要成真了啊！
Your dream will come true, Korean friends. Who is going to receive the flowers? Stop.
这看不懂，
I can't read Korean.
拍到了哈。好的。
Remember
好
to
的
take a picture.
好，
恭喜大家！
Congratulations, everyone. We have picked 10
那
winners already.
英文平台我们再加2个吧。
Let's add 2 more for the English channel.
哦耶！
这个奖品由我们自己定哈。再加
But
2
I
个英文的哈。
will decide what gift I will give you. 2 more for the English channel.
好，这一个宝林供灯，来一个。
There is 宝林供灯.
好，这是一个哈。
That's
这
already
次我来
one.
定了哈。
I will decide what gift I will give you.
这个
Chris Tan.
Chris Dan。好，这样今天呢，我们
All right.
有12位。
So today
奖点
there
哈
are 12
哎
winners who
对，非
received
常
a
好。
gift.
我也是第一次这样
Congratulations. This is the
用
first
这个方式
time
来画画
for
哈
me to
来讲的这
paint.
堂课，这堂课会给大家会有一点压力
Today's
的感觉
class might give you some pressure,
所以呢，我就用画个画来弥补
and
一下吧。
I hope to compensate
其实
for
让
your
大家学
pressure
会认
with
识
this
世界，
painting.
认识
This
自然，
class is for you to understand the
还有
world,
爱世界，
understand the
敬
nature,
世界，
love
敬
this world,
畏世界
respect
啊。
respect the
那么多
world.
敬畏的内容，我刚
There
才
are
已经讲
many
过，不再
things that
重
we
复
need to
不懂得敬
have
畏
eye
你就会
for.
吃亏在眼前。
If you don't
懂得
understand
敬畏
out,
你就会获
you
得利
might
益。
you
获
will
得
be
好处
able to
想发财的能发
you
财
might lose, but if
想
you
升官的能
understand
升官
out, you will be able to
想
receive
让
many
婚姻
benefits,
幸福的能
whether
幸
it's
福
in career,
如果不
in
懂
family
就会
life.
出问题。
If you don't
这
understand
是
it,
所以这是家训当中真正的
maybe
这个主旨
misfortune will
我们
happen.
学了佛法，要
So
懂得生活，要会
The
生活
concept of family
啊让我们
precept
活得
is for us
有
to
对这个
understand
自
how
然
to
的规
live
律
our life
对自然
better,
法则
to have a
能
better
够了若指掌
understanding
啊
and
对让
grasp
自己的生
of
命
the
变得
Tao
更
of
加
nature,
幸福
so
和
that
快乐
our life can be more
所以
beautiful
我
and
们
more
才学习这
joyful.
样的内容
And that's why we learn such content. Today is Wednesday. Our next live session will be on Saturday. On Saturday, we will have a group practice. I welcome everyone to join me on Saturday. Let us continue, and there will be more prize draws. Do you like to see me paint? If you do, leave a message. My paintings are like kindergarten paintings, but as long as you feel happy, then I'm happy. All right, everyone. May everyone be auspicious. Master, I have a reminder. Starting on July 5th, Taipei time, we start a online class. It's called Understanding Life Online Chanting Class. Starting from the beginning of this year, Master have continued to lead us in group practices and talked about many different principles. And understanding life is one of the first principles that Master talked about. And many people ask, when can we hear it again? And so we have arranged it into a chanting class so that anyone who wishes to cultivate more can systemically learn it again. And it's very easy to find it on YouTube. When you enter Grandmaster JinBodhi's YouTube channel, you will be able to see the class session already. You can copy and share the link and share with your friends so that they can learn on YouTube too. I want to remind you that all the teachings, all the group practice sessions that are seen online, remember to subscribe to Grandmaster JinBodhi's YouTube channel. The painting that I just painted, I will call it Wisdom Flowers Blossoming. And some friends have already made it to receive this painting. So let us meet again on Saturday. And it's Sunday in Asia. Let's meet again on Saturday. May everyone be healthy, live a long life, and be auspicious. Thank you all.
小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我 我快